The Arab street, which is popular opinion in the Arab nations, is always going to hate Israel. That has not changed. Tonight they hate Israel. Last night they hated Israel. What has changed is the view toward the United States. In Trump's first term, the Arabs were neutral. OPEC went up and down. There wasn't really an engagement of any historical importance. Then COVID hit, and everybody's attention was distracted. In the second term of Trump, that is totally different. But you have to understand what happened in the Biden administration to realize why. You'll remember, Leland, that in 2018, Jamal Khashoggi, a Saudi who was reporting for the Washington Post, was assassinated in Turkey. You remember that story? I think you covered that story somewhat, did you not?
Extensively, I did.
Okay. So the world was shocked, and the Saudis did it. But the Biden administration, 2 years later, made it their focal point to deal with the Gulf nations. Remember, Saudi Arabia is the most powerful nation. The others kind of follow along.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, Biden said he was going to turn Saudi into a pariah state, right? And then Biden pivoted back to Iran. Because he wanted to prove that he could make a peace deal with Iran, and everybody was afraid of Iran and tried to buy him off, rather than Trump, who came in and put Iran in its place. And therefore it showed the Middle East that he was, as you said, a strongman leader. So now Trump has effectively realigned the Middle East and proven that Iran is a paper tiger.
Okay, but
and that's where we're at.
That's the general, but you're skipping a lot of stuff. So Biden made this unbelievable mistake of insulting the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, thereby alienating a lot of the Arab street, okay? And because they are aligned against Iran, as you just pointed out. Iran's Persian, they're not Arab, okay? And the two are not compatible. So Biden totally blew it, and at the same time was freeing up sanctions so that the Iranians could fund Hamas, could send money and guns to kill Jews. This is what the Biden foreign policy was. Insult Saudi Arabia and make it easier for Iran to foster terrorism. Now, Americans don't know that because the media wouldn't cover it. So enter Trump comes back, Trump Part 2. And he knows that he's got to get the Arabs on America's side, which he has done in 10 months. So the whole Arab street now likes America because they think that Trump is strong, and that's what is respected in the Middle East. Am I correct? You spent 4 years there.
I said that in my opening, yes. Can I make you really angry right now because you brought up Biden?
Who?
You brought up Joe Biden. I just thought I'd really make you angry because Biden just put out a statement. My administration worked relentlessly to bring hostage home, get relief to Palestinian civilians, and end the war. I commend President Trump and his team for their work to get a renewed ceasefire deal over the finish line.
And the Biden administration at the end, the last year, did work hard to get those hostages out. That is true. I was in the middle of it. And I can't tell you how, but I will soon. Anyway, Trump now wins over the entire Arab world. They're all behind the United States. Huge to fight terrorism. But here's the most important point for NewsNation viewers tonight. You'll get this nowhere else. Donald Trump's power worldwide has just increased about 1,000%. But he's going to Korea to talk to Xi. Xi and the Chinese know that he has the Arab world and the Middle East on his side. China needs the Middle East, even though they're temporarily buying oil from Russia, okay, and Iran. They need the Middle East. They can't afford to alienate the Arab nations. All right. So Trump's going in with a big advantage, and he's looking at Xi and he's saying, listen, the whole world is now coalescing around the United States. NATO, EU, Middle East, you got to get on board. You got to stop all this stuff and become a partner with the USA for world peace and prosperity. That's what I did in May. That's why I was in Beijing, to lay that groundwork. If she does that, and I believe he will, because the Chinese economy is going south faster than New Yorkers are getting out of the city going to Florida, okay? I think she's looking for a way. But part of the negotiation is going to be, you, China, got to get out of the Putin business.
Right.
OPEC will replace the Russian oil. But you have to stop supporting Putin to end the Ukrainian war. That's the deal that is going to emerge. And that's the importance. It is all linked together.
I'll give you one more. The
China,
fact that, I'll give you one more. I'll give you one more part of this, too, which is that by dismantling Iran's terror networks and by eliminating their nuclear program, China can no longer use Iran as a proxy to make mischief in the Middle East. And that was something that she counted on to occupy the U.S. military and to occupy the president's time and world attention that they can no longer do, right? There was a reason that the Iranian-backed Houthis would never fire on a Chinese ship, but fired on U.S. ships all the time. This from President Trump today, Secretary Rubio. Take a listen.
I have a prediction that Marco will go down, I mean this, as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of the United States. I believe that.
You've been quite bullish on Marco Rubio lately. We got to take a break here, so 30 seconds, Bill. Is Marco Rubio now emerging as the future of MAGA?
No, but he's a stabilizer. He's a stabilizer. And he is doing an excellent job. I don't know behind the scenes how much power he has. I don't know. Okay. Trump is a very, I know you have to break. Read my column on BillO'Reilly.com this Sunday about how Trump has shaped the presidency. Trump holds all the power. But he's bellicose, word of the day. And Rubio is a stabilizer.
Bill, I say all this because I believe that what has not been reported also in all of the celebrations of this deal is that it doesn't necessarily matter what happens with the Israelis and the Palestinians. In fact, I don't think it does at all. What matters is how much more powerful Trump is vis-a-vis the Arab Street, vis-a-vis the world powers.
Sure, because that affects the whole world, where the Gaza insanity affects directly the people who live there, and that includes the Israelis. It's really a shame. They're mentally ill people. The woman that you interviewed, it's just stunning that she could be so sick. She's sick.
I don't think she's mentally ill. I think she's a radical. There's a difference, right?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
No. There isn't a difference. If you are treated the way she was by the Israelis and healed and given every opportunity to have a good life, and you still want to kill them, you're mentally ill. Because there's no rationale why you would want to do that.
Would evil be another word for that?
Sure. That's why I opened my book, Confronting Evil, with the attack on October 7th. I put the reader right in that town. And, as the SUVs pulled on up, I wanted them to know exactly what happened. But in the American reaction, that is very troubling because it should be universally condemned. You see, that's the problem with Columbia and Harvard and all of these schools where those anti-Israel demonstrations took place. I'm
going to go way farther, though, than Columbia and Harvard, because kids can be misguided. I don't think they are. I think there's a huge amount of Jew hatred and anti-Semitism on those college campuses. But you have now the guy who's going to be the mayor of New York. He's having a rally right now, but he put out a statement today that echoed verbatim Hamas talking points. We have watched as our tax dollars have funded a genocide, accusing Israel of genocide completely wrong. The moral and human cost will be a lasting stain and requires accountability and a real examination of our collective conscience and our government policies. He equated the loved ones coming back to Gaza as the same as the hostages being released to Israel. This is not, Bill, Harvard and Columbia students who are in love with BLM and DEI and neo-Marxism. This is a guy who's going to be the mayor of New York.
But it's the same mentality. It's a 33-year-old guy who doesn't know anything, doesn't care to know anything. His wife is more militant than he is, and he shouldn't get one vote. Anybody voting for Mamdani is, as I said, and I took a lot of heat from this like you did on the social media, if you vote for that man, you're enabling evil. That's an act of evil that you're doing by casting that ballot. Because this is a vicious man. This is a man who, if he gets power, is going to be bodies piled up in the street. There's going to be an exodus from New York City. Mm-hmm. Everybody's going to suffer who lives there. And the poor will suffer most of all because they don't have any protections. They don't have a doorman.
I want to play for you real quick.
This guy...
I agree with you there. But there's something deeper than going on, I think, than just Mamdani. Kamala Harris, woman who was almost president, was asked about whether Israel was committing genocide, another Hamas talking point.
A lot of folks in your party have called what's happening in Gaza a genocide. Do you agree with that?
I will tell you that when you look at the number of children that have been killed, the number of innocent civilians that have been killed, the refusal to give aid and support, we should all step back and ask this question and be honest about it. Yeah.
How 2 years after the worst killing of Jews since the Holocaust, Bill, has an entire political party, this is not just the fringe at Harvard and Columbia, this is the guy who's going to be mayor of New York and the woman who is almost president, echoing the talking points of, as you put in the beginning of Confronting Evil, a terrorist organization sworn to the destruction of Israel?
Well, Harris isn't smart enough to know what she's saying. I don't think she's an anti-Semite who wants to see Jews die. Mamdani is. I mean, he'd be right there. If he was in Gaza, he'd be right there going, yep. Hey, get him, get him, get him. Harris isn't smart enough to know what she's saying. What she gets is talking points every single day. But picture if she were president, and all of you who voted for her, okay, you think those hostages would be out? You think we'd have a chance in China making a deal that might lend peace to the planet? Do you think that any kind of border security would have been implemented? You voted for this woman. That's what you wanted. All right? So I'm a pretty good analyst about politicians. I'll tell you the truth about all of them. I'll tell you the truth about Trump. Strengths and weaknesses all day long. Kamala Harris, and I want you to quote me, is not smart enough to even know what she's saying, the implications of what she's saying. No. That is why she lost. Couldn't even get a sentence out on the campaign trail. Nobody knew what the hell she was talking about.
That always scares me to write off evil or evil adjacent. But they're not smart enough to understand. I don't think she's evil. But, okay, look, you and I disagree a lot.
Okay, I don't think Kamala Harris is evil.
No, I think she's evil adjacent or enabling evil. With things like that.
She lives in a bubble world.
All right, fair enough.
And she doesn't care to know. She doesn't care to know what reality is. And Biden was in exactly the same place.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.